Had a major dream last night, just incredible. It may have to do with all those nights, the last couple of weeks, waking up 5 in the morning, but I'm not going to tell about it until next Monday night. And so this week we are going to deal with the beast, the THERION. This is the one that's not fully human. This is the one that is probably out there right now. Do you understand the nature of the Antichrist? Do you understand the nature of the anthropos anamos, HomoSatanas, the counterfeit to the conception, incarnation, manifestation of Jesus Christ? This will be Satan in human skin, but much more than human, not a man possessed, but Satan born. The genetics of the ultimate, Nephilim. This is Russ Dizdar, shatterthedarkness.net on the web. We're prepared tonight on a Monday night where we've got a blast of snow all over northeast Ohio. I mean, it is coming down. You can barely see 100 yards in front of you. That's how blurry. It's a whiteout, and there's already wrecks. And right outside our house is a hill. We had a truck upside down just a few weeks ago. The man was okay. February 21st, 2011. It's going by quick, but listen. So glad you're here with us tonight. So glad you're listening tonight. This, I believe, again, is very, very providential in that we are here tonight starting off in a new series. And this series is, to me, vital. It is because of the massive revelation of God, the one that's going to shake the core of human existence. On the website, shatterthedarkness.net, we have it down like this. THERION, the beast system, and the man who shakes the world to its core. Quote, he will be born counterfeit to IMMANUEL, Christ of God, and forged by the darkest of satanic power. He will be the most masqueraded being in human history, and will rule the world by a seductive spiritual power. He will be unleashed, the most enslaving political, economic, military power in all of human history. His appearance into the world will mark the end of history as we know it. There's a massive intel on him. He has been profiled, unmasked, defined, and exposed long before he ever speaks, long before we would ever hear the voice of an ancient hate. And I'm going to tell you right now, this massive collective revelation of God, Daniel, 2 Thessalonians, 1 John, Book of Revelation. The beast has been profiled, has been unmasked, it's been unveiled. And here we have what I believe is the cutting edge and distinct information God has given about his eyes, about his mouth, about his face, about his actions, and using the word THERION in describing the Antichrist, and then also THERION describing the false prophet, describing the beast kingdom, describing the ones that will bring a quarter of humanity, billions to their deaths, beasts of the earth. We got to look at the Word tonight and take a look at what I believe is clearly a revelation of horrific hybridism. We can call it that. This is Russ Dizdar, shatterthedarkness.net on the web. We are live tonight, Shatter Live broadcast. We are in a week. We have the theme up on the website, THERION, just simply that word. I want you to, hear that word again and again and again. And I'm going to suggest to you even deeper and broader and wider studies. Some of you are tremendous in it. We put up information on Facebook. We put out some, a mini cast, a new thing we've done with preemption broadcast. And so I know that hundreds of you have already tapped in. You've already listened to the introduction, and you're here. We're glad you've gathered. And we are looking at a world that is, in the upheaval of riots everywhere, all over the Middle East. We haven't seen anything yet. It is going to be absolutely off the charts, absolutely incredible what's going to occur. It is going to be, there's bloodshed, there is upheaval, there is an exchange going on, but but what they're exchanging, the current. Now we're looking at coup. We're looking at what is called revolt, rebellion. Here is the old Greek word. Now this word involves not just a sliding away of believers, as so many have been told for years, but 2 Thessalonians 2, this rebellion, this revolt, as some of the old translations put it, it involves the concept of political and even military revolt. It has the idea of turning over the current regime and replacing it with another. And there is the great revolt to come. Apostasia. It is clearly the belief of the undergrounders, and some of the undergrounders are listening right now. Some of them are going to listen, the chosen ones, those who know they've been, well, created, forged, transmuted, empowered, programmed, and set as sleepers for the coming activation and the Black Awakening, as they call it. Inverted Satanic Pentecost. Listen, the world hasn't seen anything yet, though we're living in the broadest ramping up of dark presence in all of history. The big problem for the world is the masquerade, the seductive masquerade. The face that is put on radical, bloody, bestial darkness. Seems to be pleasant, harmless, and drawing people into it like a sexual predator, and his smile that seeks to draw in the little child. You better believe there is a lethal intent behind it all. On a Monday night, how you doing? On a Monday night, how was your weekend? Yep, once again, in the middle of the night, 2 times, big old dream. And now I'm going to tell you that I'm not saying it's prophetic. I'm not saying it's directly from God, but it relates to everything that's been going on for weeks. And I literally got up again and was guided to, just literally the Lord led to write out 2 weeks worth of live broadcast starting next Monday night. There'll be 2 weeks. This will be turned into something major. Well, the title of it, and I wrote it out and put it on. I got my computer out, and I literally put it all out, spelled out the entire 2 weeks, the skeletal outlines of the messages. You know the title of it is? I'm Ready to Die. I'm ready to die. That's what the title of it is, and it's going to be a shocker for all coming up. But I believe it's going to be something absolutely vital for all believers in the days that we are living right now. Let me invite you in. Let's take a look at it. We can go back to the Germans, Lebensborn, the genetic birthing centers, the goal of the Aryans, the master race, the spirit-inspired concept of backbreeding. You know, those who breed horses, and we have a neighbor of ours who does that, and they've got some great horses back there. In the summertime, I hear them coming out, and once the trees are fully bloomed, and I can't see them, but just in the late spring, I could see them out there, and horses are magnificent. But if you understand the breeding process for purity and power and ability, especially when it comes to a racehorse, right? So we understand that. Do we understand the physics of gene splicing, transhumanism? Do we understand the panic? Does Kurzweil understand the panic of gene splicing? This goal to negate the death code that has infected humanity by moral choice and by dark presence and its inception into humanity. There's a lot to do with the concept of death this week that we're going to deal with, but there is more to deal with when it comes to the conception, incarnation, ultimate manifestation of the ANTIcHRIST, the little horn, the anthropos anamos, this man of lawlessness. Well, God gives massive, massive intel. Now listen, I don't know about you, but if you're talking about the most supernaturally oriented person in human history, inseparably connected to the most supernaturally induced political, economic, and military might that will be so ferocious and so fierce, like a leopard, the speed of a leopard, the power of the bear, and the fierce roaring to instill fear like a lion. Maybe you've read this. Maybe that's familiar. You can go to the book of Revelation, chapter 13. That's where we're going to be focusing a lot of the attention this week. This word theron, this word is a description by God of the Antichrist, of his nature. Now, you can do the studies, and I encourage you, I'll bring it out during the week, but you can go back to the Greek Septuagint, connect it with the Hebrew, and look at wild beasts and beast, and it's not always talking about animals. You can come to the New Testament where this word is defined and can be used of a wild animal. I mean, a ferocious, human ripping apart wild animal, sure. But it's used by God to define the Antichrist, this being. By the way, and in my opinion, as I'll spell this out Monday night, most likely already exists, and one wonders when someone speaks about him, and it goes to 90 countries of the world, and hundreds of thousands of downloads and listens, one wonders whether that regime monitors. What say you, dark chosen ones, listening right now? By the way, on the website, shatterthedarkness.net, you have the ability to download the PDF file. Now, we're going to have every single week, there's a 10-minute introduction, actually 9 minutes, 47-second introduction, a little mini cast on Theron. And there are study notes, if you click on there, a PDF file that will give you the outline for the week. Tonight, we're going to look at, well, he looks like a man, but he's Theron. He is beast and bestial, and most likely the ultimate hybrid. Tuesday night, we're going to look at my opinion. He's alive and ready, and so is his regime. Wednesday night, well, he'll be more active behind the scenes. I mean, as far as length of years, when the apocalypse, that is the unveiling, his coming out to the visible world to rule comes, well, that's marking off literally less than 7 years to the end of history as we know it, to Armageddon. Thursday night, we're going to talk about, can you track him? Can you fight him? Will you hear the voice? Will you hear the voice of an ancient hate? Is there reasons why both in the book of Daniel 2,600 years ago, the book of Revelation 2,000 years ago, God has clearly pointed us to his mouth, to what comes out of his mouth, how loud he is, how pompous he is, how arrogant he is, how blasphemous he and the regime is, how there is an attack on heaven, an attack on all the old things of human history. Loud, boastful, massive. And please understand that there is a behind-the-scenes collective counterfeit to the omniscient, omnipresent power of God is the dragon, the huge red. That's the revelation we find in Revelation 12. There's a reason why we have about 5 times in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, an unprecedented unveiling of the presence, the manifest presence and power behind the rise of the Antichrist. Counterfeit to God the Father, there's this kind of oversight. But because Satan is finite, though powerful but finite, the fallen cherub All of his abilities and powers are massive beyond humanity, but they are finite. You and I must understand the collective. You and I must understand the satanic, this collective. The prince of the power, the domain is the Greek word. This exousia, this realm around the earth. The prince of the power of the eros, the physical, dense atmosphere around the earth. It's packed. It's global. Those who have been researching and feeling it out on the other side of the fence have been calling it the global brain, the global mind, the conscious universe, the Akashic records, the Hall of Records, something out there, the field, a presence. That is this collective. This is the collective of all the sum total of demonic force. Cosmocratus, Archon, Exousia. The powers in the heavenly realms that encircle the earth. Collectively, this is the dragon. This is the huge, this is the megas. Now that's what God calls it. Revelation 12, check it out. Megas. Red. And, well, we're going to take a look at Revelation 13 and you're going to see that presence is so real, so vast, and will become so manifest that its presence in the air worldwide will be sensed, felt, known by billions. Listen to me now. Based on the Spirit of God giving prophetic revelation, Revelation 13, it is clear that hundreds of millions, if not billions, will end up worshiping the dragon because of the beast. Because they know the dragon, this collective universal presence, gives power to the THERION to lead the world into a new age that involves, well, listen, it involves a new mankind, a new history, and a new God. Many of you listen, understand, and know what the dark side has been plotting and planning for so long. You know what is coming. You know what is on the way. And all the streams, whether the Masons, whether Alice Bailey, whether Helena Blavatsky, whether the secret societies, 2012ers, and the New Age movement collectively, the Luciferic invocation, the enthronement of Satan. You can look at all the backgrounds everywhere and all of the alienologists, whether coming out of the skies, coming up deep under the earth, the old structures, wherever you find the Nephilim architecture and the return of Quetzalcoatl, all of it points to the same thing, even among the Muslim Brotherhood, even among what is happening now all over the Middle East. And that's why on a public and broad scale, information is coming out that there is a belief in a Mahdi. That massive, horrific bloodshed must come, but a Mahdi is coming. A super ruler is coming. Antichrist, THERION, will fit the bill for the Alice Baileyites and Blavatskyites and 2012ers and New Agers and Islam and alienologists, abductees. He will, because of the precursors already laid into their belief systems, because of the manifest presence felt, sensed, emanating in the air, well, you can be sure they will fall prey to this masked, oh yes, masked. You're talking about God's description of the most horrific, human-ripping, society-destroying, world-collapsing presence in all of human history. The apocalypse of Anthropos already evidences the final 7 years when he does come out. His presence also will be a declaration based on biblical prophecy. Billions will die. The earth will be reduced. The environment, destruction. It's amazing. The pinnacle of deception, the pinnacle of destruction. Theron means all of this. Primarily the word, anybody doing the background studies and just taking a look, and don't look at just one Greek lexicon, go to some in-depth studies here, and you can look at the common Koine use, you can go back to the classical, you can go back to the Septuagint use, you can look at the broad use, but see the historical, grammatical, Holy Spirit chosen use of the word. Take a look at it in Scripture, interpreting Scripture, and then take a look at it in the context. Those are three primary rules of interpretation. That Antichrist, that little horn, is called by God specifically and again, beast, theron. This has everything to do with his construct. His nature, what he is. Now, three things to take a look at in the book of Daniel, and I have so much to give you, and I'm going to give you things to study, I'm going to give you things to go back to look at, but in these next 3 points on the notes that you have, listen, Daniel chapter 7, Daniel chapter 9, Daniel chapter 11. You're going to see where it speaks about his eyes, his mouth, and his face. Number one, his eyes. His eyes. Now, I want you to hear again, in the genetics of the Theron, the Antichrist, you're talking about, in God's definitive description, bestial. Beyond and not really ultimately human. In nature, anti-human. In nature, destructive. When he's called the little horn in Daniel, it's a big representation of his political and military evolution to power. In 2 Thessalonians, when it refers to him as anthropos anamos, the man of lawlessness, that again involves the core of his being. The disintegration of the anointed cherub, Ezekiel 28. We have the transmuting of the anointed cherub, the fallen cherub, Satanus, Diabolo. We have now that the genetics of that being are completely reversed. Jesus said there is no truth remaining in him. There is nothing of his origins really remaining in him as the way God made him. He's been transmuted. That's what he is. And it is a violent, lying, murderous nature. He does what his nature is and wills. He wills what his nature is, and his nature is because of what he's willed. A liar, the father of lies, the murderer, and we're talking about the horrific, homicidal slaughterer. That's the nature of Satanus. That is going to be the ultimate nature of the Antichrist, the beast, the Theron. His presence will bring, ultimately, billions to their death. Now, when you look at the four horsemen, Revelation 6, white horse, red horse, black horse, the pale, greenish, death, Hades horse, 1/4 of mankind dies. Yes, by military action. Yes, by plague and famine, maybe chemical weapons and things like that in famine. But also by the beasts. The beasts, the Theron of the earth. Let me tell you something. God gives the future picture look at the beast regime and possibly the super soldier chosen ones, if not direct, maybe in some new way. Some think of it as evolved Nephilim. God doesn't see it that way. He simply calls them and defines them as bestial, as horrific. as like a ferocious, rabid animal that is bent on the destruction of humanity, the devouring of humanity. Now, traveling back to Daniel, we must understand that in God's description, if we take his description, we're talking about something horrific, that casts fear, that would be in every way beyond any kind of movie, beyond any kind of media description, because of its presence. But since Satan knows how to masquerade as an angel of light, right? That he can morph in the conception, in the genetics, in the designer of this incarnation. There's no question that the power of Satan and his abilities will be in the man, Antichrist, the beast. So that the masquerade, the ability to appeal, the ability... Now, we're going to read about his fierce face. We're going to read about his, well, looks like the eyes of a man. You ever wonder that? Go back to Daniel chapter 7, chapter 9, chapter 11. Notice that these human qualities, these things about, like you and I. You can see a picture of me on the web. Some of you I've met at conferences. Eyes. There's something about the eyes. They are like a window to the soul. FBI profile, FBI, they understand the eyes when somebody lies looking down to the left. When there is a shyness, when there is... look at the eyes of individuals. Look at the eyes of some of the shooters in the past. Crazed, blackened, insane looking. The eyes of the possessed, crazed, insane, menacing, deadly. I have dealt with the undergrounders for over 29 years, I believe. We have seen again and again the manifestation of sub-programmed, demonized personalities. We've seen those who have claimed gene splicing, Nephilim blood, and without question have manifested dark power, presence, abilities. I've watched the switch from an individual that looks calm, peaceable, that looks approachable, vulnerable, that has absolutely no threat whatsoever, in a second switch, face contorting, changing, eyes absolutely, we used to call it multiple eyes. If you've listened to the Black Awakening hours of seminar, 24, you've heard me talk about this. If you've listened to the hours on Freedom Encounter, the course, you've heard me talk about this all the way back to the early 90s. All the way back into the 80s. They've got multiple eyes. They've got eyes when you look at it, it's as if 3, 4, 5 people are looking at you at one time. It is as if you not only see them switching and looking and observing you. Usually once you acknowledge that and mention that, they all go down and the eyes clear up. Oh yeah, the technology of the splitting of the core of the human soul, creating sub-personalities, programmed, demonized. One wonders whether THERION in the future will be highly transmuted. Some believe it, SRA, MPD, chosen ones. Back to the book of Daniel, chapter 11, chapter 9, chapter 7. The mask that the Antichrist will create, his presence, his speech, it's all about his eyes, all about what he says and what his face is like. This is where all of the ancient occultists, those in the secret societies, those connected to the prophecy and prediction and desire of Albert Pike, 2012ers, Return of Quetzalcoatl, across the board, New Agers, 2012ers, and even Islam. These eyes, that mouth, and that face will appeal to them. The world will look and see maybe a hero, an astounding hero, because off the back of the world's most horrific, catastrophic collapse, when the United States collapses, when Europe collapses, when border wars and missiles are shot and hundreds of thousands of programmed super soldiers, sleepers are unleashed and millions are dying and cities are burning and blood is in the street and fear is in the air and a satanic counterfeit Pentecost has been unleashed. A chaos unlike anything in human history. They call it a black awakening. When this leveling of society, leveling of nations, leveling of government, leveling of the economic, leveling of the military structures. All the while the fierce, bestial kingdom regime waiting in the wings, bulging at the seams, bursting to come to power, will be there. That which they have caused, that which they have brought about, will be the stepping stone, the phoenix that rises out of the ashes. The old black flame Nazis understand the terminology. The 2012ers and the lethal Nephilim demonic god prophecies encoded among the Maya and many other places. And you watch, there may be new places before this all breaks out. All of it lending itself to, there must be a cleansing. There must be a chaos. Blame it on Mother Earth. Blame it on the need to cleanse the earth of overpopulation. Nope, it is a plot. It is a development. It is a regime, a government behind the government, a military behind the military, a presence behind society. When everything is being brought down, everything being razed to the ground, all the deaths, all the destruction, all of the... Well, you can be sure the internet down, the electrical grids down, the food chain transportation down, you can be sure that there will be a sense of the end of man, the annihilation, the end of the world. That's exactly the emotion, the goal of emotional dependency, the great black awakening, the great chaos is meant to produce. On the backs of that, already plotted, already ready, and at the pinnacle of power, will be bursting onto the scene. Apocalypse is the word God uses to describe the visible appearance of the man of lawlessness, the man that will change everything. Yes, he looks like a man. Yes, he has eyes that are like the eyes of a man. Yes, he has a face. Well, it's like a human face. It's fierce. And he has a mouth. God gives in Daniel and the book of Revelation an enormous description of his mouth. You ever read this in Revelation 13? John, 2,000 years ago, by the Spirit of God, is in pictorial vision and then communicating it into words. We're going to read it right now, the words of God. Here it goes, quote, "And I saw a THERION, a beast, coming up out of the sea. He had 10 horns and 7 heads." The sea of humanity. He had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on his horns. These are places of political, military powers. And on each head, a blasphemous name. You see, the regime is inseparable from the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is inseparable from the regime. Verse 2, Revelation 13, the beast, the Theron I saw resembled, looked like a leopard. But had the feet of those of a bear and the mouth of like a lion. We're talking about the absolute speed. Please understand the absolute speed of the apocalypse of Antichrist. And the regime. And the power like the thumping down. I don't know if you ever heard a bear run, but the literal power of the bear. And you can say, well, this is Russia. No, we're talking about the entire collective regime. It's like a leopard. It's like that of a barefoot. And it's got like the mouth of a lion because it is massive. It roars. It instills fear. It comes with authority. When the lion unleashes his roar in the jungle, everyone hears, fears, takes notice, runs. But look at verse 2, the revelation of God. The dragon that now, in that day, not yet, but in that day, in the air, that manifest presence, the huge red Megos dragon, Revelation 12, manifested literally worldwide, without question, felt as never before. This is beyond global brain. This is beyond the conscious living universe. This is beyond the Akashic records, though many of those that believe in those concepts will see this as the manifestation of their belief system. The dragon gave the beast his power. The dragon gave the beast. Do you hear me right now? The Antichrist, the Theron, that will manifest into the world the most supernatural, powerful political, economic, military leader in human history, that will crystallize the most fierce governmental and literally spiritual rule in all of human history. Do we hear this? Do you understand that it has to develop over years and years and years and years, and then the dark side's concept of coming to power is create the Black Awakening, as they call it, create the chaos that will bring everything else down politically, economically, military-wise, all of society, raise it all to the ground, and then ascend with this, what? Coming out of the sea. That regime, my friend, that beast-like regime, it's already massively multinational and global. It really does have its connection into the power centers, economic, political. Listen, without the economic, there could be no political power. Without the political power, who's going to guide the use of it all? Without the military enforcement, who can do anything? Economic, military, and political power as never before seen in human history. It's fast, it's powerful, it's loud. But it is, as you read in Daniel, in the rise of the little horn, he will rise not by human power, by non-human power. He comes to reign. In that same section you'll read in Daniel that it is by a non-human power that he comes down and is destroyed. We are talking about the pinnacle of satanic manifest presence in the world. Non-human power brings him to power. That's what Revelation 13 is about. It's about that collective. If you can feel over Europe, in Moscow, all over the world where you're listening, if you can feel the presence that I'm talking about in the air already, you are just touching a small tip of this dark black dracon, this satanic collective, this global manifest energy, power, presence that all focuses and backs and empowers the THERION, the pinnacle of all the dark power, focusing on the pinnacle, the Superman, little horn, Antichrist, THERION. Now you can take a look. The dragon gave the THERION his power and his throne and great exousia, great authority. One of the heads of the beast seems to have a fatal wound. Now we're pointing to the Antichrist specifically. But the fatal wound had been healed. The world, listen, the whole world was astonished. A counterfeit to the resurrection, a counterfeit, a absolutely global event. This is a supernatural event. And the Antichrist will once again bond with this world. And they're going to be astonished, and they're going to follow the beast. Let me tell you right now why I have no question when I mention the manifest presence, the collective, the dragon. Why this was not put in the Gospels, the rest of the New Testament, Thessalonian, 1 John, but here in Revelation, chapter 12, it all begins. A massive introduction to the collective manifest presence of the dark side, the dragon. Here we see what some have called the unholy trinity. The concept of the unseen but felt and operative collective presence of the dark side counterfeiting the Father. And then there is the the instant of the imposter Christ. And all the power of the collective, the dragon, focuses now on the THERION. And this is so knowable and experienced, and, take a look at verse 4, Revelation 13. Mankind worshipped the dragon, the unseen but yet felt collective that has, in the future, at the apocalypse of Antichrist, has manifested at the level, at the ultimate level, the pinnacle of satanic power. Mankind worshipped the dragon. Do you realize right now New Agers are doing that? 2012ers are doing that. Old occultists are doing that. Alienologists, abductees, and so forth are doing that. They're doing it as they embrace the precursors, as they are embracing the tip of this dark satanic collective, the dragon. When the full force of what they've already got a hold of, or what has already got a hold of them, manifests. Oh, the emotional astonishment, the emotional bonding. They will literally prostrate themselves in emotional, committed embrace globally of the dragon. They will worship the dragon, the collective power in the air. They will worship the THERION. God describes from 2,000 years ago, and it hasn't happened yet but will, what that collective of worshipers will even say. It describes their action, it describes their emotion, it describes their devotion, it describes their speech. Who is like the THERION? Who could make war against him? Verse 5, the beast was given a mouth. Just like in Daniel, chapter 7, read it. Chapter 9, read it. Chapter 11, read it. By the way, we have a basic chapter by chapter, verse by verse book of Daniel Shatterthedarkness.net, over there to the left, scroll down. Absolutely free. About 24 hours of teaching. Check into Daniel 7, channel, Daniel 9, well, all of it actually, but specifics, chapter 7, chapter 9, chapter 11. The mouth of the THERION is very distinct. It is a major part of the revelation that God gives about this future Superman. His mouth will utter proud words. God already describes they're going to be blasphemies. He's going to exercise his authority 42 months. He opens his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place, and those who live in heaven. Here we have on the earth HomoSatanas, Satan in human skin. And his speech is already declared, well, it's loud, it's pompous, it's boastful, it's blasphemous. And he literally is going to address God, heaven, and those who live in the heavens, turning his worshipers, earth dwellers, those without the Spirit of God, those without the gift of life in Christ, into hatred. Oh, you want to talk about hate speech? It's coming as never before. The voice of an ancient hate. Verse 6, he opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. Verse 7, he's been given power to make war against the saints and to conquer them. That matches the book of Daniel. And he has, was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. This is global. This is the new order. This is globalism. Are you going to be happy with that, presidents and premiers and kings of the earth? If you're listening right now, are you going to be happy with embracing the pinnacle of satanic presence that spells out the ultimate destruction of humanity and the end of the human race? And because of the intervention, the saving intervention of the apocalypse, Jesu Christu, Revelation 19, matching up with Matthew 24. Unless those days are cut short, the presence of the beast kingdom, the presence of the beast, the presence of a second beast, that presence into the world, like pre-flood, maybe the intention of the pre-flood, annihilation of the human race and possession of the earth. Verse 8, all the inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast. That is to say, all whose names have not been written in the book of life, belonging to the Lamb that was slain from the creation of the world. God says, listen now, he who has an ear, let him hear. He who has an ear, let him hear. Let me go back over this. We're talking about the THERION, likeness, back to your notes, likeness to Emmanuel, but not. Anti, in 1 John's Gospel, or 1 John, the second chapter, ANTIcHRIST, yes, it has the concept of opposed, but strongly the concept in that word is instead of. He's the instead of. The old occultists, the old secret society, the old mystery religion, the old and ancient prophecies of the Maya and others around the world, and in the air, the delusion that's going on in the air, and the communication that is going on in the air. Same doctrine, same Luciferic promise, same Luciferic agenda. Coming in all those streams. It is all not only opposed to Christ, but instead of. Counterfeit Christ, counterfeit everything. Now listen, HomoSatanas, I give you on your notes 4 things here. A supernatural foretelling, a supernatural conception, a supernatural incarnation, and a supernatural manifestation. Based again, Daniel 7, 9, 11, 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 John 2, Book of Revelation, specifically Revelation 12 and 13. It is without question that The Spirit of God gives in prophetic literature massive intelligence, profiling, unmasking, exposing the who this world super leader really is, what he's going to say. Focusing on his eyes, his mouth, his face, and then his actions, ultimately being called a theron. He is beyond human. The undergrounders, the troops of Antichrist, as they call themselves, the chosen ones, they already believe he is a Superman, serpent of light, return of Lucifer to his rightful place. The foretelling is not just by the Spirit of God describing who he is. The foretelling of the coming of this theron is found in the literature of the 2012ers, the literature of old occultism, the literature of Luciferic writings. It is found in the depth of the New Age movement worldwide. It is found in alienology communication. It is found in every one of those streams, including Islam. All of them. They all believe in a super leader. And listen, they're foretelling, there's expectancy in Islam, expectancy in the New Age, expectancy among alienologists. And we're talking about people who believe in UFOs and the presence of an extraterrestrial race by the millions worldwide. They all are expecting the arrival. Alice Bailey's writings from the 30s, 1930s on, or Helena Blavatsky's old writings, old Spirit-inspired prophecies from thousands of years ago. You know what they're all doing? Pointing to the same thing. They're all foretelling the arrival, which tells you one thing, both on looking at their literature, but specifically looking at what God has said. It is a plot. They know what they're doing. It is a plan. It is sequential. It is an evolution of satanic sequence. The supernatural conception, the reason I believe that the Antichrist will be conceived in counterfeit to the conception of Christ, go back to the Gospels. The Spirit of God and female human egg, the virgin, shall be a child. God caused the conception. Do you understand Traducianism? Do you understand when a man and a woman, Yada, come together? Cain knew Yada, his wife, Eve. They bore a son. Well, this is not immediate creation, but mediate creation, procreation. It's clearly a process in the sense of what occurs in the womb, but when the breakthrough in the egg occurs, conception. That moment, human spirit, inseparably connected to the development of the genetics and the DNA and the physical side, the material and immaterial are inseparable then. Conception. God caused it in Mary, the Virgin Mary. God caused it not to be half man, half God, but in the conception by the Spirit of God we deal with now, infinite God in perfection, bringing about fully God, fully man, Meshach. This is Messiah. This is Emmanuel. This is Logos in human form. This is now God in human form. No question about it. But counterfeit to that, and the reason I say counterfeit, everything Satan does. Counterfeit, 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 all the way across the board. Everything about what he is, what he does. Counterfeit apostles, counterfeit prophets, teachers, doctrine, counterfeit signs, wonders, and miracles, counterfeit Christ, counterfeit regime, counterfeit everything. Counterfeit God. Small g, though, for him. So, by the biblical revelation of everything counterfeit to what God is, says, and does, it is without question, I believe, Antichrist is not a man that someday unknowingly Satan pops in and possesses, but is conceived. That conception is fallen cherub to some woman. Most likely bloodline, in my opinion, demonized, charged. We're talking now not the infinite perfect God. We're talking about the finite, imperfect, fallen cherub in his desire to counterfeit the conception and bring about HomoSatanas. Satan in human skin. THERION. Genetically. Well, could there be gene splicing involved? Could there be whatever else involved? Whatever would enhance the satanic sciences? Could it be involved? Sure. Bottom line, the conception defines ultimately what he is. He was conceived at some point. He was born at some point. Here's an imperfect, finite, dark, twisted, transmuted incarnation. Ultimately, the manifestation, the birth of HomoSatanas. Designed. God wanted to bring full-blown manifestation, the visible God in manifestation. Invisible God being shown in Christ. Here we have the masquerade. That's why the beast, yes, he'll look fine, but look at his eyes, listen to his mouth, and observe his face. That should be enough to cause you to recognize when the apocalypse occurs. Oh, there's much more. Listen, he's not a possession like Mark chapter 5. He's not like Judas, John 13:27. We're talking genetics. Does HomoSatanas know who he is? Does the Antichrist know who he is? Absolutely yes. Counterfeit to Christ, knowing who he was at 12 years old in the temple. No question about it. All the undergrounders agree, the ones helping to bring him into this world and eventually to the apocalypse. They believe genetically created, fallen cherub to demonized woman. There's a mother of the Antichrist. He knows who he is. But we've got 2-3 minutes today. We've got so much to tell you this week. We got so much more on these notes. May God speak into your heart. If you don't know Him, if you're listening because you're monitoring, Christ has come for you. The infinite God loves you, can give you new birth and the gift of indestructible immortality. Come out of that darkness now to the living Christ. He summons you. If you know Him right now, the word of hope for today for all of us, Daniel chapter 7, verse 26. Daniel chapter 7, verse 26. Listen, referring to the Ancient of Days in the court of God, but the court will sit, referring to the Antichrist, his power will be taken away and completely destroyed forever. You read verse 26, verse 27 for hope for today. Blessings in Christ. Russ Dizdar, Shadow of the Darkness. Hey, remember us in your prayers. Remember us in support. We need you. Good night.